So what is DARE? DARE is a way of getting into college on reduced points if you have a medical condition or a specific learning difficulty or a mental health condition. Um, and it acknowledges the fact that some of our students have had to work harder than their peers when they've been in secondary school. So maybe they have missed school because of medical appointments, perhaps due to anxiety they've missed school, and perhaps it takes them longer to concentrate and do their homework. And so they've had to work harder and they have to put more effort, and that would impact on their opportunity probably to study more and to get more points. So that's what DARE is for. It acknowledges the fact they've had to work harder. So who can apply for DARE? So students who have autism or autistic, including Asperger's syndrome, students with ADD or ADHD, students who are blind or sight loss, students who are deaf or hard of hearing, students with DCD, which is developmental coordination disorder or dyspraxia, students with mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, OCD, eating disorders, students with neurological conditions such as brain injury, epilepsy, narcolepsy, students with speech and language communication disorder, students with significant ongoing illness, and that's a huge category. That can cover anything from students with heart conditions such as POTS to students with Crohn's disease to students with diabetes. Any condition that has impacted on that student being able to fully participate in school, be it that they have medical appointments or that the medication they are on has impacted on them, on their concentration, on their wellness. If you go online to accesscollege.ie and you see a list of examples of significant ongoing illness and your condition is not there, don't worry. As long as the consultant has diagnosed a condition and that there has been impact, you can apply for DARE. We just haven't, been able to list all the conditions, and especially as new conditions come on all the time. So if you or your son and daughter have a condition that has impacted on that student over the entirety of their education, and not just within the last few months, but over the entirety, certainly within fifth and sixth year, you can apply for DARE. Students with a physical disability such as scoliosis, wheelchair users, hand-arm difficulty, back injuries and so forth, students can apply into that. And then also students with a specific learning difficulty such as dyslexia and dyscalculia. I'm happy to answer any questions at all at the end of the session, so please put them in the chat there if you wish, or you can contact us directly and I have our details at the end of this session. So what do you need to be eligible for DARE? So I'm going to explain very briefly about how you apply for DARE, but what you need to be eligible for DARE is you need to meet educational impact. So you need to show, and there's a form you fill out at the school, that there has been educational impact, that you have missed school, that your results have suffered from when the onset of the condition perhaps, that you have missed school, that it does take you longer to do your homework, that you are getting leave and certificate accommodations or supports. And then you also need to provide evidence of your disability or your diagnosis, be it dyslexia or mental health or whatever, as I mentioned. So those two together will make you eligible for DARE. So what is the application process? So the application process for DARE is there's three main sections, three main parts to it. The first is Section A, and this is online, and you need to apply to the CAO before the 1st of February this year. If you're planning on doing the Leaving Certificate this summer, you need to apply to the CAO by the 1st of February and say yes to question 1, which says, I want to be in DARE. I want to be considered for DARE. So question 1, Section A is very simple. You note what disability or difficulties you have. You can note more than one if you have more than one. And you say yes, you want to be in question. You say yes to question 1. So you do want to be in DARE. There's two other parts then, Section B and Section C. Section B is that educational impact statement piece that I mentioned already. And that's when the student and the school fill out this form. The school often have them. You can download them off accesscollege.ie, but the school will usually have them. And they will fill them out either by hand or electronically. And this notes things, as I mentioned earlier, about yes, you've missed school. Yes, it takes you longer to do your homework. Yes, because of the onset of the condition, you're now unable to do certain activities. You get the student in the school fill this out, and you then take that back as the student and you post it. You keep the original and you post a copy into the CAO by the 15th of March. Okay, so you need to say you want to be in DARE by the 1st of February. So just get that done. And then you need to get the evidence into the CAO by the 15th of March of this year. Okay, so as I said, you and the school fill it out, but take it back. It's your form. You keep the original and you then send in a copy into the CAO. Section C is the evidence of disability form, and this is also very important. And this is where you provide evidence to confirm your condition, your medical condition, your mental health condition, your dyslexia. Depending on what condition or what category you're applying under will determine what evidence you need. So, for example, a student with a mental health difficulty needs to provide evidence from a psychiatrist, and it needs to be less than 3 years old. A student with autism needs to provide evidence from a psychologist or psychiatrist, and there's a couple of other options there as well, but there's no age limit on that evidence. So it really depends on what category you're coming in under, what one you want to apply under, and all that information is on accesscollege.ie. There's a very simple table that will take you through what evidence that you need. If you have multiple conditions, so if you have more than one condition, say you have dyslexia and autism, apply under them all. Absolutely apply under them all, because in case you're not eligible under one, you could be eligible on the other. And then it also informs the colleges that you're coming to in September that, look, these are my diagnosis, and these, to be aware of the supports I might need when I come in. It's really beneficial for the universities and colleges to have that information in before the student comes in. Again, you post copies of that evidence of disability. So that evidence of disability can be a form that you download off accesscollege.ie that you get your consultant to fill in, or it can be a report that you already have that's within date, that it's from the correct consultant. So whichever one you have, whichever one's easier for you, you can send that in, but they must be posted into the CAO. Keep the originals, send in copies to the CAO by the 15th of March. Again, the 15th of March is the deadline for all the evidence. In relation to the evidence of disability, sometimes students aren't seeing their consultant, they're not due to see them until maybe September of this year, but their GP will have evidence on file belonging to them. In that case, the GP can fill out the evidence of disability form. They tick a box to say, I'm the GP, I'm filling out this evidence, I confirm their diagnosis, and then they attach a copy of that evidence they have from the consultant to that form. The GP filling out that form alone is not enough. So if you are going down the route of getting the GP to fill out the form, fine, that's grand, but the GP must attach the evidence that is in date and that is from the correct consultant to that form. Every year we get applications from students where the evidence of disability has been completed by the GP, but they have not attached the evidence that we need to it. So I said that if you get that back from the GP and there's no evidence attached, go back and ask them for the evidence from your file, if that's the way you're going. If you have a consultant's report already, or you're able to get the consultant to fill out that section C, that's absolutely fine too. That proof of postage is really, really important, and that's why I have it emphasized on there on the right. Anything you send into the CAO, get proof of postage. And what that means is you just go into the post office and say to them, I'm posting this to CAO, will you give me proof of postage? And they will provide you with a receipt of the date that you sent the evidence in, or whatever you're sending into the CAO. And so it was going to the CAO and the date that you sent it in. Why this is really important is that if you send anything into the CAO as part of your DARE application and it goes missing, and the CAO doesn't receive it, if you have proof of postage, the CAO will allow you to submit it late. So it will allow you to miss the deadline if you've already sent it in before the deadline. If you don't have that proof of postage and your evidence or your impact statement has just gone missing, there is nothing DARE or the CAO can do. So proof of postage is really, really important for everything that you send in. And this is all in that handbook, the DARE handbook, which is available on accesscollege.ie. So once you send all that documentation into the CAO, then all the colleges come together and there's an assessment of all the evidence that has been sent in. If you are deemed eligible for DARE, you will be notified just after the Leaving Certificate that you are eligible for DARE. If you're not eligible for DARE and you think we've made a mistake, then you can do an appeal, and it will then be reviewed. And if we have made a mistake, then your eligibility will change. So you will be notified on your CAO account just after the Leaving Cert to say if you're eligible for DARE, which means you can compete for a place of reduced points. So while we all agree nationally who's eligible for DARE, how much point reduction is given under DARE differs from college to college. So obviously I'm within Dublin City University, and we have 5% of all programme places reserved for DARE. So that means we have about 8 places on business, we have 1 place on sport, we've about 3 places on psychology, and then we've 20 places on the BEd. So it differs from course to course. Even with DARE, while DARE can help with points, and I'll explain how in a moment, you must meet the programme requirements. We cannot help with that. So if you are looking to do the BEd or primary school teaching and you need a specific grade in Irish, then you need to get that grade. Or if you're doing engineering and you need a particular maths grade, you need to get that grade. We can only help with the point reduction. We cannot help with those programme requirements. DARE does not add points to your Leaving Cert. So each year, students seem to be under the impression that DARE will add 50 points to my Leaving Cert. So if I got 420, I actually got 470. And they'll contact us and they'll say, well, I got 470. How come I didn't get an offer when the programme was 450? That is not how it works. None of the colleges add points to your Leaving Certificate. DARE is a competition under the points. So when I get a list of all the DARE applicants who want to come to DCU and who are eligible, I then have a list of all my places. So for example, if we were to pick business and say business in the main was 500, I would look at the first DARE person under 499. If there's nobody there, I move down to 498, 497, and I work my way down under the points till I fill my quota of 5 places. So as you can see, if I've only got one place, the points could be 5, 10-point reduction. Where if I've got a program with 10 places, then my point reduction could be perhaps 30, maybe 40-point reduction. It really depends on each year and each demand and which course is more in demand. So just to be clear, we do not add points to Leaving Cert. It is a competition under the points. There is one exception for students who are deaf or hard of hearing, students blind or sight loss, or students with physical disabilities. They get priorities within the offers because the numbers of those students coming to the colleges and the universities has not increased in any significant way over the past 15 years. So in order to try and encourage more students from those categories to come to the university, then they do get priority in offers. But it has little or no impact on the majority of our offers because those numbers are still so small. If you have any questions at all about how much point reduction, how many places have we got, contact us. I have our details at the end of this presentation. We're happy to tell you typically what students come in on particular programs, and all the colleges will be able to give you that information. We don't know what the point reduction is going to be in August, but we can tell you in the past what people got on. Most important thing with DARE is if you are applying for DARE, your points, what program in order you put your preference of programs. Put what you really want to do first, because with DARE you could get it. If you think, oh God, I'm going to be 30 points off, with DARE you could get 30-point reduction. We don't know, but it's really important that you put down what you really want to do first with DARE, because you could get it. And also just remember, and I know my colleague Kathy was talking about here earlier, that if you are able to apply for both DARE and HERE, so HERE is another admissions route, which also allows students to come in on reduced points and is for students from different socioeconomic background where there's unemployment at home, low income. You can, if you qualify for HERE as well, you can actually apply for both DARE and HERE. We are the ones within the university, we would then prioritise the offer, which one would suit you best. But with if you are DARE and could be HERE, do apply for both, because you can apply for both of them. Now, we don't add the point reduction together, but definitely apply if you come under both. Okay, so that was a very quick run through of what DARE is. And as I said, any questions at all, please do contact us over the next few weeks. But the most important thing is to get that application in as soon as possible. You have to have ticked the box by the 1st of February, and then you need to get all your evidence in by March 15th. Okay, so in relation to supports in college, regardless of how a student comes into the university, you can still get access to the exact same supports. So DARE is just a way of getting into college on reduced points. It does not impact on how you're going to get supports, on what type of supports you're going to get. So if a student comes in through the QQI route or through the mature student entry route, they can still get exactly the same support as a student coming in through DARE. As I said, DARE is just that entry route, but it does not impact on supports. Every student is treated the same if they require supports within the university. So the most important thing is that you meet with the disability officer as soon as possible. We will make contact with you because we'll know you're coming in through the CAO, and we will invite you in first for an orientation that we run specifically for our students coming in through DARE or with a disability or medical condition. We'll invite you in for that one-day orientation, and then we'll also email you multiple times to invite you in to register. You'll meet with the disability officer and you will talk about what supports you got in secondary school, and you'll talk also about supports that you might need while you're in the university. And it could be exam supports, it could be in-class supports, and I'm going to go through a few examples of those in a minute. We are able to use what's called the Fund for Students with Disabilities, which is coordinated by the HA on behalf of the government. And this allows us to fund a number of supports for students within the universities. So it's really important to note that just because we know you're DARE and you've come in through DARE, your supports aren't automatically added to you. You need to meet with somebody, you need to meet with the disability officer to talk about what those specific supports are. And the types of supports that might be available to you or they might be required to a student coming into the university. Some of our students with physical disabilities may require a personal assistant. So this personal assistant will provide care around, getting to and from lectures, personal care needs, and also within going to lunch and so forth. So we can apply for funding on behalf of the student to fund personal assistance for students. If you are a student with high needs, and if you are a student that may need a personal assistant, or so you may be a wheelchair user, or you are a student who is blind or deaf that may need significant supports while you're in the university, we would suggest and ask that you come and meet with us over the summer. We're there all summer and we're not like the schools. So we are there and we would be happy to meet with you and give you a tour of the campus, talk about what supports might be of benefit to you. It allows us to have enough time to put those supports in place for September, because if we're not aware of you until late August, it's going to be very tight to try and get you the supports that you might need September. So if you are a student that might need a personal assistant or might need other supports such as a lot of technology, please send us an email. We'd be happy to meet with you. And it might suit you to do it over the Easter break, or perhaps leave it till after the Leaving Cert. That's fine, as long as we have just a little bit notice to get those supports organised. ISL is Irish Sign Language. So for our students who are members of the deaf community, this will be their first language, and we can provide them with Irish Sign Language interpreters in their classes. For some of our students, they may need a note taker. So some of our students who might be blind or of sight loss or deaf or hard of hearing. And then we also provide students with recording software. So typically a student with dyslexia may have difficulty concentrating what the lecturer is saying and taking notes at the same time. With permission from the lecturer, we can give that student recording software, which allows them to record that lecture. Exam supports, these are just the typical exam supports the students might avail of within DCU. So extra time, which would typically be 10 minutes per hour, sitting in a smaller exam hall. So for some of our students with a mental health difficulty, sitting in a room with 400 or 500 people, 300 people sitting in an exam could be quite overwhelming, where we can facilitate students in a room of around 30 students, which is, it's a lot more manageable for our students. The use of a PC, some of our students have difficulty typing due to dyspraxia or a physical disability, but they can use a PC to type their exam. And dyslexia guidelines is similar to the waiver in spelling and grammar that students would get in the Leaving Certificate. And so that can be applied to exams. It's not applied to assignments and projects, but it is applied to exams. And just to note that if a student is coming in and taking a module, perhaps a language module, be it Irish or French or Spanish, the dyslexia guidelines may not apply to all of that module. If there is a part of that module or that subject that requires the student to demonstrate spelling and grammar, then the dyslexia guidelines cannot apply. If you have any questions or concerns about these supports, please give us a call or drop us an email. We're happy to talk about these further. And then finally, the one-to-one supports that students can avail of. We have occupational therapists. We have 2 full-time occupational therapists who work with students with mental health difficulties, ADHD, autism, to help people keep on track, to manage their workloads. We also have an assistive technology officer who looks at, provides students with recording software, spelling and grammar software. We support students on placement planning. I know I'm flying through this now because I'm conscious of time. Placement planning for our nursing students and also our teaching students. If they need supports on placement, we can organise that. And then we run workshops on a variety of things, on managing your time, on study skills, and it's extensive. There's also a huge amount of supports available to students. I'm not going to go through them all within the university, and you don't have to be signed up with our service to avail of these, but we've student advisors, we've counselling, we've a health centre with the GP and nurse, and there's also financial support and chaplaincy and student learning as well. So these are our contact details. So it's disability.service@dcu.ie, or you can telephone us. And then on accesscollege.ie is where all the information you will get in relation to HEAR and DARE. Okay. So I'm doing pretty well, Mags. Now, despite all the technical difficulties, I flew through that. So if there's any questions at all, I'm happy to take them. If not, please do contact us, and we'd be happy to chat. Certainly, if you have any questions at all about DARE or about supports, or need to organise a visit. With 1 minute to go, I'm doing very well. So accesscollege.ie is going to be where you go for all that information in relation to DARE, and you can download manuals. You can download the forms as well there if you need to. Thank you all very much. As I said, any questions at all, do let us know.